Hello, welcome to another video. We're going to be talking about comics today. I'm Bones McKay. I write so many comics. You can read them down below. Anyways, comics. Short comics. I got a few questions about short comics and I kind of wanted to combine them together because they work together. So one of the questions was about how do you come up with ideas for short comics? And the other was like, how do you know if you're coming up with like too much information for a short comic? And I think those kind of flow well together, like, don't you? When it comes to coming up with ideas for a short comic, I think first and foremost, don't overthink it, but it's okay if you do, okay? So you can sit down and make a short comic script in a day. If you've never done this, I think it's time that you just do that. Like, don't overthink it. There's been a few times where I've done the 24-hour comic challenge where you make 24 pages in 24 hours, and it's crazy, and it's a lot of fun, and it is doable. The actual art and stuff might be a lot less doable, actually, but the writing of a comic thing, like, that is so doable. A while back, I took the Mary Robinette Kowal short story intensive, and that was like making a short story in 3 days. So it is doable. It is a skill that you can hone. And if you have trouble overthinking things and you feel like you can never come up with a plot, just do it. Just try, just look at something in your room, come up with an idea. It might suck, but you've got this, okay? And like I am always saying, short comics are a wonderful place to practice your skills at writing scenes, because basically there's very few scenes in a short comic. Sometimes you can have one scene. You really learn to make a tight story. You learn to structure things. You learn to write an ending. And a lot of these things you might not necessarily get the chance to do in a longer form comic, because it takes a lifetime to finish some comics, you know? Like, it takes a lot of time. Now, for the second half of the question, like, what if you do take a long time at a short comic? What if you're having fun making up a world and you're like, well, what if I never use it again? I don't think it's bad. If you like to make a world and you like to world build and you like to make short comics in new worlds that you build, like, that's fine, okay? Like, that's a wonderful way to get the world building joy without giving yourself giant projects over and over again. And there's nothing wrong with doing something that you love, because comics should be something that you love, something that you enjoy. So if you enjoy building a world, it's not a loss of time, okay? Unless it is getting in the way of you actually making comics, and making comics is something that you actually want to do, then it could be a problem. But there's remedies for that, right? The remedy is to just sit down and do it and not overthink it and work on some short comics, because that's what you want to do. But if you just want the joy of creating things and want to take your time with a short comic, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Just because you can do it in a day doesn't mean every time you make a short comic it should be done in a day, you know? It's fine. It's fine to explore. It's fine to have fun and do things. Another fun thing that you can do, let's say you do like to do world building and you want to make a big comic, but it's overwhelming. Make a short comic in that world. That is a really fun thing that you can do to really practice and to really flesh out your world more, is to make a short comic within the world. I think short comics are great because when it comes to like large world building, you end up writing like, let's say you have like a big ass world building Bible, right? And you want to include everything in your story, but you can't. If you're doing a short comic, you don't have space for that. So it really will teach you how to find what information is important to share about your world and share it so that your short comic functions regardless of whether or not people have read the full breadth of your comics. If they haven't read everything, if they read the short comic, they can still enjoy it. And then you can further make things a little more interesting for people who do read your larger comic. When they read a short comic that exists within the world, it might explore a topic that you don't necessarily explore in the larger story, because there's like just so much to your world, like you can't possibly include it all. And you just made like a fun little side adventure to share with people. Yeah, and just basically all I want to say today is just work on some short comics, like enjoy yourself. Take a week and just write one. Like get it out of your system. It is so doable. It is so much more doable than all of the other comic work that you're doing right now. If you have never sat down and scripted and thumbnailed and really worked something out, you could get one done in a week, you could get one done in a month. 8 pages is so doable. It's just such a great place to learn. It's so fun to learn. And it can be difficult to find places to like post a short comic, and it can be a little less rewarding to share a short comic, but it's important for the learning process, you know? It's helpful, it's invigorating, and that is why I would suggest it more than like it being a lucrative thing to do. I guess you can like if you make enough of them, you can like put them together in an anthology, or like sometimes there's places you can submit to other anthologies. It's a little more difficult to submit to an anthology because usually they are accepting like pitches rather than full on short comics already done, because their printing requirements might be different, and that becomes a difficulty. But having short comics in your portfolio is very useful if you are applying to get into an anthology, or you want to get on a comic project, and if you're applying for like jobs and that stuff. Like, it's good to have actual comic work in your portfolio. Like, as someone who has published 2 anthologies now, I often do look to see if people have comics in their portfolios. Comics are such a like a coalescing of various skills, and there's like there's so much to just like character design, to like panel layouts, to story and pacing, like how you tell that through visuals, that I can see in a pinup. Like, I can see a bunch of pinups and be like, you're a very competent artist, but I don't know how this translates into a comic page. So like, they're useful to see in portfolios if that's something like you're interested in doing. And other than that, like, I will continually say, and I continually push you guys to do this, is it's just such a good experience. It's such a good learning experience. Like, I can't stress enough how much fun it is and how good it is for your learning. And it also gives you so much more opportunity to explore different styles, different panel and page layouts. It really just gives you a chance to play with art, whereas when you get into your actual long form comic, like, you can feel a bit stifled, you can be a bit boxed in. I can't go from the Magpie style, so that's one of my comics, the Magpie. I can't just go from Magpie to Sovereign to the Scourge of 9 Point to Avo. Like, I can't just interchange those styles. Well, some of them I could, but like, I can't just interchange like those in a comic and have it necessarily work. Like, I could, but that would be a planned hodgepodge kind of comic. Whereas like, usually you're gonna pick a style, you're gonna pick your style, and you're gonna play within the binds of it. And when you do like a short comic here and there, you get to play a lot more, and you get to explore a lot more. And this exploration is where a lot of learning can occur. And just from like the writing standpoint, you can explore all sorts of different story types and just have fun, you know, just have fun. And if you have the issue where you sit down to make a comic, a short comic, and it gets too big, you gotta stop. You gotta pick one character. You gotta pick 1 or 2 characters, and you gotta have an arc that happens in a set amount of pages. You pick your page number, and then you pare down things to fit within the page number. You learn to cut, darlings, and you will have a great time. It'll be sad, but everything that you trim off, you know, like, trimmings, like, they don't just die on the ground, you know? Like, trimmings can become mulch for like a news story, or trimmings can grow into a news story. You know, they're not just tossed into the garbage. They don't go to the landfill, Phil. You put them in the compost, or you put them in a little cup of water so that they can root and become their own fresh new thing. So like, don't stress about that. Like, it's okay to drop things, because if you really love them, you can use them somewhere else. And as you slowly work at stories, and as you slowly start trimming things, you will end up with so many great ideas for whenever you want to sit down and just crank out a short story, because you have all these trimmings. You just pick one and you're like, okay, time to grow a story, you know? And that is all. That's all I have to say today. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, my comics are in the description. I love when you guys read them. It means the world to me. And if you don't want to read them with your own brain words, we have an audiobook version of the Books of Avo that I've been slowly putting out on YouTube, and I would appreciate it if it had more views. It is a passion project, so it's not going to be as successful as these little videos, but I would really like it if you popped in there and gave it a like. I'm going to be posting them every Tuesday, so thank you. All right, goodbye. Talk to you tomorrow.